What's up, everybody? What do you want to scream?
Woo! No one needed to hear that in their ears.
Welcome
Sorry.
into another episode of the Celtics Talk podcast here at FTX Arena, where the Boston Celtics have emerged as champions of the Eastern Conference, Abby.
Whew. In the words of Derek White, if they didn't make it hard, it wouldn't be this team.
If it was easy, it wouldn't be us.
I was sweating, Chris Forsberg. I was over in that corner, and I was absolutely sure that Jimmy Butler 3 was going in. I couldn't even see it. I didn't even know the angle. And I was like, the way that this series has gone, the way the Celtics, what they have done this season, that bucket was going in. And then it did not. And the Celtics won.
So it's funny. We can peel back the curtain here. I think it was like 4 minutes to go. And Tatum, I think, hit a layup or something, put him up 10. And I told you, I was like, that's it.
You did. Done. You're like, it's over. It's
I'm
done.
like, get downstairs.
I got out of my seat. I went downstairs.
You trusted me.
I got our camera guy. I was ready to rush the court.
I'm watching the rally and I'm going, uh-oh. I might have jinxed that. So, luckily, that shot did not go in. I still love that shot, by the way.
You'd love it for the Celtics, sure.
Well, no, but like in
Jimmy
general.
Butler shooting a pull-up 3?
You have all the momentum in the world in that moment. And Jimmy Butler, who is just a ruthless assassin in those moments, I'll live with it. You know, he missed it, didn't miss by much. But, yeah, I'm totally cool with him taking that shot. Like, could he have driven? Probably. But he's also, I mean, he didn't have the legs to drive at that point. He was doing everything he could just to will them into that moment. Anyway.
I agree with you in that if you're a Heat fan, I mean, there's no one else's hands that you would like that ball in. And to me, for what he has done for this team in this run, in this series, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. If he believes in his mind that was the best shot to take, that was the best shot to take.
Our guy Bontemps voted for him for MVP of the series.
Really? Was that really a possibility? You're going to hand over the Larry Bird trophy to a losing player?
Congratulations, Celtics, on winning a game in 7. Here, Jimmy Butler.
He
was kind of quiet for a couple of games.
A little ridiculous.
I get the notion, but I think Jason Tatum earned that award with the way he salted away the victory in the fourth quarter.
We were pulling for Al Horford, though.
We were, and he actually had a very good game defensively. I thought he was awesome. I mean, he swatted that. Who was it he stuffed at the rim? Strus or somebody?
Gabe Vincent.
Either way. Al looking spry. And the thing I kept going back to is you could tell how much it mattered to him.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Was he on the ground?
Yes. It happened right in front. We got on the corner, and Al Horford was our post-game interview on the court. And, so I
just looked down and I saw him lying. I said, aw.
Chris, so you know me, I'm
a little bit of a sap.
A total sap, especially since I've had 2 children. I cry at diaper commercials like on the regular. So first of all, I was in the corner. I watched the Jimmy Butler shot go up, and I was about to cry because I was like, oh my God, it's over. How did we get here? How did this happen? And then I step on the court. I'm excited, and then I see Al Horford crouched over and just overcome with emotion and relief and joy, and I was like, and then I had to fight back those tears and pull it together and be a professional.
I got down on the court. The first thing you're saying, you're like, minutes after you were still reeling. But no, I think it's really cool that just the impact that Al had in the series. Shook off a bad game 3, shook off a bad game 6, was impactful when they needed him to be impactful. But certainly it came down to Tatum being great and making all the right plays. It didn't necessarily just scoring, but like getting to the free throw line, making the extra pass, or just doing whatever it took to get them to the finish line. A well-deserved honor. What's your biggest takeaway from Game 7 in general?
For the Celtics, it is that we cannot count them out. And that this resiliency that we have been talking about.
Where did it come from?
For the better part of 2 months. I think that's a great question, Forsberg. I'm going to tell you what I think, and that is it comes from this group and that core in Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, and now you add that veteran, that heart, that grit of Al Horford in there, that basketball intelligence as well.
Should we tell the people that the club just came up? They must know we're potting.
Club 305, right? It's opening up. It's about that time. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. But so talking to Marcus Smart post-game, I asked him if there was a moment, if he knew when things were going to be different this season. And he told me, and it's the first time that he's really talked about that moment post-game when he called out the Jays, and in Marcus's words, he was misinterpreted. That's not what he was saying at all. He was just telling you that was the scouting report. But in his mind, from that moment, instead of breaking apart, they came together. And so I think finding that and then starting to believe in each other, buying into everything that Ime was telling them to do once they started seeing results, yes, they have been a very resilient team.
It's so funny
from
because
that moment on.
people have always said it. Was there a moment? Was there a conversation? Was there a game? And I don't think there was, but it's as you said. After that January 6th loss, they crumble in New York, and
which Jason Tatum said was his lowest
right, his
moment.
lowest moment.
RJ Barrett, hitting that shot over him.
Another Duke guy hit him, and so of course he was mad about it. But just in general, like we were all like 11th place in the East, 3 games under 500, and we're like, where's this going? You know, Ime had kind of had a roller coaster at the start of the year, was facing a lot of criticism. The roster didn't make sense.
Which was ridiculous.
You know, it's fair to say that now. He did have his moments where, and to his credit, he as much like his team, he worked through that. And once he had a better roster, it became even easier for him to operate. So, but like, yeah, they could have splintered right there. I mean,
absolutely.
Some people, maybe even Kendrick Perkins was on, his Twitter box saying, time to split up the Jays.
Let's not bring that up.
Okay.
I don't think there's
so I'm just saying
necessary.
we have receipts.
There was more than one person who was calling to split up the Jays.
100%. And so those lunatics decided that they should break up the perfect young core of the Boston Celtics, and that forced them. It really is. Like, I mean, the four with Rob. I
do think it's perfect for the way the game is played right now. You have 2 versatile wings who play both ways and are super intelligent, and also just have that heart and want to win and want to get better and want to improve and are willing to do the work to get there. So yes, I won't say they're perfect.
They have to be a little bit more perfect in the next round.
They do.
Although we'll get to that.
Jalen tonight was huge, stemming so many of those Heat surges and giving the Celtics just a little bit more room and a little bit more space for Jason Tatum to operate.
I don't have my box score in front of me. I don't feel like the turnover number was as egregious, obviously, as in recent games. Both him and Tatum were much better in that instance. Certainly, they let their foot off the gas in some moments of the game and made it a little bit dicey, which they can't get away with next round. But yeah, like the bigger thing here is like I could have never envisioned on January 6th where this would go, and the fact that they didn't let it break them apart, that they stayed together, and that they all remained faithful to that vision that like what Ime was trying to preach is remarkable. And I keep saying it, like I know we're gonna do it in here in 2 minutes. Like we're gonna start looking ahead, but like you got to step back. You got to take the 10,000-foot view for a second. I might cry, but like no, it's because I've never been a part of this. Yeah, I know, because I've never been a part of a season like this. I mean, the IT year was crazy, and like what he did and getting into the MVP voting, but I've never been a part of a team where I just was like, man, they're unwatchable. They're a chore. Just there's no roadmap forward, and then within 100 days, it's like, oh my God, they're the best team in the NBA. So even on this, I just kind of stood up there in our little media section. I'm like, wow, it's like they're just geeked out to have those shirts and hats, and tomorrow they'll turn their attention after one probably really fun night here in Miami. We'll have to go figure out where they are. But yeah, it's like, I mean, do you allow yourself to savor?
Absolutely, of course I do. I ride this. Yes, and it was really cool to be on the floor. I obviously have never experienced that before, and to just see the excitement, and not only of the players and the coaches, but it's also all of the staff and everyone who has supported them throughout this entire season. But Chris, what I find remarkable is that it was, and we haven't mentioned Brad Stevens and the brilliance of what he has done this season, and clearing out the pieces that didn't work. And we heard from the beginning, from Media Day, that this season is about supporting the Jays, giving those franchise pillars what they need to get to here.
Everything Brad knew better than anyone, like what the weaknesses of this team were. And not only like from a schematic and on the court perspective, but like how to motivate those guys too. So he went out and started with Ime, right?
Yep.
And said like, well, I need this coach and that takes a lot. That's, hey, I'm not able to do this, but he will be. And that takes some selflessness. Like you have to understand that there's someone better at their job, and in some regards.
So much self-reflection, and to know where you fall short, and then be able to see that in someone else.
I could never do that.
No.
No.
But and then the moves. I mean, and then trading away Kemba. Some people question whether it was worth giving up your first-round draft pick. I think Al Horford has proven that, no matter what the contract number is.
Absolutely. And now, like, we sat there, and when we made the trade, we said, oh, so, Al will play this year, but what happens next year? And now it's like, well, you're going to bring him back. And his money's getting more guaranteed and more guaranteed. But it feels, Brad made every right step along the way. even at the deadline, like recognizing that the Schroeder thing just wasn't working and that it was tough for Ime to balance it because you still needed another weapon, and getting Derek White and being willing to splurge for this, it's he made every right step along the way and was rewarded for it.
And to me, what also stands out is that there are moments, Chris, where this team, this group, they look unbeatable. When Robert Williams is 100% and flying around out there. I know. Do you want to talk about that?
No, I don't really want to talk about it.
He did not look like himself here in Game 7, and it is a relatively quick turnaround. He is going to get some time off before the finals start on Thursday, but it's a couple of long flights in between there.
All right, so we'll spin it forward.
Okay.
First off, how excited are you for your first finals?
I'm pretty excited. I feel like after Game 5, I allowed myself to start thinking about it and picturing that.
So you jinxed it.
And right. And so then Game 6 brought me back down. So I have not really gotten there yet. The excitement level is not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But
you'll get there quickly.
I know. How are you feeling?
So again, my first year being around the team was that 2008 team, and I was just sort of a supplementary piece of what we were doing at the Boston Globe, but it was neat. It was like, oh wow, this is like a championship, and being in that locker room after they won was like insane. I'm sitting there with my little video camera, just recording video for a newspaper, which made no sense, and Kevin Garnett's pouring beer on all of us, and it was a wild experience. And then my first year at ESPN, they go to the finals. And I'm like, oh, this just happens every year.
Oh, we do.
This is great.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Mike Gorman about it last week. I'm like, I just got used to it. I just said, well, I'm going to work through mid-June every year. And then you go 12 years without doing anything. And you're like, oh, you have a greater appreciation for it. And I'm just kind of trying to savor the moment and understand that you just never know. And that's why this season would have been so disappointing if they let this slip from their grasp this year. But they didn't.
They did not. And I had a very different experience. I came to Boston at the very end of the Big Three. I arrived in January, the last season before Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce were traded away. And then I took over on the sidelines in Brad Stevens' first year. So I have not experienced any sort of, aside from the Eastern Conference finals, yes, I have experienced those, but and that's what I asked the guys this season. Does it feel different? And all of them to a man said yes, and I would completely agree with that. This is the first time the Celtics have gone through this and have been the favorite to get to the finals and then actually done it. And Chris, that's something that I didn't realize. It is a talking point, and many people have mentioned it, but I do feel like these guys, the core, and Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford, were feeling that pressure to break through. Marcus brought it up to me without me even asking, and said there has been a monkey on their back, and they understand that if they had lost tonight, it would have been a huge disappointment, and then there would have been questions about them. And so for them to break through...
Would those questions have been fair?
I don't think so.
I think it would have been fair in terms of you do start to worry when you've been there 4 times in 6 years and you just can't get over that hump. Like what is the problem? And I think some of it traces back to health. Some traces back to they just weren't ready a couple of years ago. So it was fair. It would be fair to be part of the discussion. But I always thought the whole they have to break up this core and right back to the same conversation was a little bit overblown. And let's remember the best part about this the whole thing for the Celtics is that they're still set up to add talent moving forward. So
and that's one thing that's great talking to them after every single one of these games is that there's still room for growth in this season as well. And while I don't think that that's fair, I think we lose sight of the fact that Jaylen has been to 4 Eastern Conference finals. That first one, he hardly played at all, was not a huge part of that team. This is the first year that it has been on their shoulders. This is the first time Jason Tatum.
2018 it was on them.
And that was playing with house money.
Right, of course.
And then you bring in Kyrie Irving trying to do whatever he's going to try to do, trying to do. Right, and so this is the first time that it's been on solely on them because they had Kemba Walker in 2020. Yeah. And
one-footed Gordon Hayward.
And one thing that we have seen from the two of them is that they do learn from these experiences. They are able to take that and grow from it. And so if there was a loss here, I would not have been as discouraged going forward. The only thing that would discourage me is the fact that Al Horford is turning 36 on June 3rd.
True.
So mark your calendars.
All right, we're going to have a couple days here to actually start looking ahead and planning for this. But I just want your initial take. How are you feeling about the Boston Celtics going into the NBA Finals against the Golden State
Chris
Warriors?
Forsberg, I am feeling great. The Celtics have matched up so well against the Warriors for years now. I think really ever since Brad Stevens took over, for some reason
They always get up for those matchups.
They always get up for those matchups. They match up really well because you can put Marcus Smart on Steph Curry, and then you've got the size to match up against Clay. Draymond Green, really the only thing that's
How are we feeling about
the
their
X factor for me right
about
now?
The health of the team as they come out.
That
of
is
this
a concern.
series? Yeah.
That is a huge concern. As we mentioned before, Rob Williams did not look like himself here in Game 7. Although that was on short rest, he'll get a couple more days.
3 days can cure him, right? Couple cross-country flights. Like, I'm a little worried. So obviously
Sure.
he did not look like himself.
No.
But credit to Rob for trying to gut it out. You know, they gave him 2 good stints, and that's about all you can ask for.
Yeah.
But yeah, like between Marcus's foot,
I was surprised he came back in the second half.
I was surprised they threw
They
him out
started
there
him.
in the
Yeah.
start. So very interested to see what they have and just how quickly they can bounce back, right? Because you've got a situation now where dudes out west have been just sitting around, chilling, playing some video games, and you've got to go home.
Well, the Celtics are going to fly home. This is Sunday night. So they'll
think.
fly home, get home.
Technically-
It's a
technically Monday
3-hour
morning.
flight. Right. Buses left at 12:45, so they're not going to get home until 4:30 a.m.
From the clubs?
No, from the airplane ride, landing. And then they will have all day Monday. I'm sure they'll get back together on Tuesday, but they do have to fly across the country because Media Day is coming up on Wednesday. That is quick.
As we take this show on the road, I'm actually I was planning on going right to San Francisco, but I'm going to go home too for
Are you?
a day.
Me too.
The weather's somehow better back home than it is in Miami after
Oh.
our thunderstorms today.
There was. It got so dark outside. I looked out the windows and I was like, "Is there a hurricane
Yeah.
coming? Is that?
It-
Do people tell you?
Kinda
Should I
dark.
get downstairs?"
It was the storm before the storm. See what I did there. All right, Abby, this has been fun, but stay ready because there's more podcasts to come. I was worried this would be our, that you never know what happens in a Game 7.
You know what, Forsberg?
What's up?
You don't have to get ready if you can stay ready. Always ready.
And
This
where we're gonna-
season.
that's where we're going to end it. And hopefully our club music will come back on. All right, everybody go like, subscribe, check us out on the YouTube page. We'll catch you from San Fran on the Celtics Talk podcast.